Hi everybody, Creative Katie Karen Burchill here. Welcome to Index Card a Day 2019, part of my Create Daily series. The prompt is macaroons and the technique I'm going to be using magazine pages and negative painting. Now the prompt macaroon made me think pastry, circles, and pastels, and that's what I did in this page. So I cut out this pastry out of a magazine. And the pastel colors got it, but it was also pastry. So I decided that I'm going to do a quick background using this page. So instead of a jelly print or a collage paper, I'm creating it using a magazine paper. And sometimes you get lots of interesting colors that once you put them on, they don't look like what they were intended to when you cut out a circle out of grasses or a stack of pants. And that kind of ties into the quote that I end up using on this page. So I cut this to size. Now, because I have these, it's a happy planner, and I don't want to have to recut the holes. Made it a straight edge along there, and then I'm just matching my paint to the teal that's on the magazine page. And that's a good thing to do with your magazine pages as well. Take a hint from the color schemes that they use. And I love the pastel pink, this light teal, and the white that works, and gold actually works really well together. And so I'm going to file that away as, something that I can create on a canvas or on another project. So I'm just filling in this teal where the magazine didn't fit. So then I'm just going to glue this down with gel matte medium. I'll put a link to the video where I talk about how I go from prompt to page, or ideas for the page, and how I use the prompts to inspire. And while you can take it literally, I could have painted a picture of macaroons on here. I am taking a different approach when it isn't something that I want to put a picture of. So I had a whole bunch of circles, and that comes right from the macaroons, and I'm just tracing around these circles. I've kind of played around with the orientation of them, and I'm deciding as I go which one's going to go on top of which one. Because my plan here is to do some negative painting and paint out everything that isn't a circle, which then you are going to totally just see the colors and the pattern of what was on the magazine page, not the pastry or torte or whatever that happens to be. I'm using a Stabilo all pencil, but this one is white. And the reason I wanted to use the white one is because I don't want the black on my background. I plan on doing the negative painting in white, and I don't want it to turn gray. So once I got all the tracing done, I am just grabbing my white acrylic paint. I kind of hem and haw between just going in and using gesso. And if I had done the gesso, it may have covered a little quicker. I ended up having to do a couple layers, 2, 3 layers. And I'm using an angle brush and just painting out all the areas that are not circles. Now the quote that I'm using here really ties into this technique, and the quote is going to be, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. So I'm just going little by little, and with acrylic paint, it works best if you put thin layers and then you come back and you add more. I realize when I'm doing this, I don't do a whole lot of pages or canvases with pastel colors. But I really liked this kind of minty teal green and this pink with the white. It's a very light. If your paint is getting a little bit kind of, if it's drying out and getting a little gloopy, just add a little water. Sometimes that helps to make it go a little smoother. And I'm going back, once a certain area dries, I'm going back with another layer of white paint. And I continue doing that till I am happy with the coverage that I have. Here I want it pretty solid coverage. Sometimes I want to see some of the pattern that I've built up in the background that I'm now covering up. As I said earlier, this is a page from my old Happy Planner Mini. It's a mini size. It's approximately 5 by 7. And I gessoed them, or I did gel prints on them to get them ready to use as an art journal. And I love this because not only did I use the Happy Planner all last year, and now I am turning it into an art journal. The pages do get a little thicker, so I'm finding that, one book of one Happy Planner probably will end up making 3 separate journals. I will buy more discs and have 3. And I fully intend, I've got a Happy Planner that I use for my daily planning right now. That is going to totally end up being another art journal project. I absolutely love using it. The pages stand up, and I love the idea of repurposing and reusing something instead of just throwing it out. So now I'm using the float acrylic technique, and I'm going in with a darker pink color, and I'm shading around the outside of all the circles. And this is going to define the circles and make them stand out from the background, as well as kind of separate them. So the small one on top of the large one is going to look like it's actually on top of it. This is a slow process. If you want it darker, let the first layer dry and come back. Then I'm making sure I shade, like where they overlap, there's going to be shadow. So I'm making sure that there is shadow underneath those. And then I'm coming, I think right there, I'm adding some of the teal. And the teal, when it mixes with the pink, if it's still wet, is going to make kind of a purple, and it's going to give me a real dark shadow in there. I could have shaded them with black if I wanted. I could have used my Stabilo all pencil. This magazine, the paper the color was kind of lifting a little bit, so I didn't want to get too wet or rub too much on it. Then I'm shading with the teal on the outside. And again, this is my hope here is that this will separate the circles from the background. Leave me a comment if you're doing the Index Card a Day challenge. How are you finding it? Are you following the prompts? Are you just doing your own thing? And I decide to keep this quote in the rectangular shape. It's very wordy, so I wouldn't want to cut this all up. And I'm putting it in the middle. And where I end up putting it, I think it looks good in the overall composition, but it also covers up some of the magazine that has worn off and it's white underneath. So I'm gluing this down with gel medium. And I did edge it with the makeup sponge and the dark teal. Then I decided that it needs to be shaded with that same teal color just to make it tie in. For the longest time, I put quotes down and I was quite happy leaving them white. And now I'm all over the shading them and colorizing them. Now I'm just shading the outside edges. Then I decide I'm adding some more of the pink because it's not dark enough. And I think the fact that it's pastel colors and they're not the bright, bold colors that I typically use, that's really throwing me off because it's just so different. But it's always good to challenge yourself with a different color scheme and a different thing just to see. So I grabbed my fine line bottle, and on the magazine picture, there's that, like the crust of the pastry is what it is, but it's kind of that yellowy color. So I'm thinking, okay, the gold is going to add. I think using black would have made it too stark, but the gold definitely ties it all in. And this is my fine line bottle. Love this tool. And then I decide I need to do it to the sentiment as well. This quote could have been part of my perseverance one. Here's the finished product. Give me a thumbs up. Leave me a comment. Bye for now.